start automatically. Philippe, and we'll see. All right, thank you. I'd like to start this evening by acknowledging EDF Renewables, who are our sponsor for this evening, and thank them very much for the support. You'll notice some videos that'll play automatically in the background, some very young-looking Philippes, and we'll run through. So, when Philippe approached me to take on the role of TC209 chair, he said one of the best parts of the job was introducing the McClelland Lecture. And who knew that all these years later, nearly 8 and a bit years later, I would be given the privilege of introducing Philippe himself. So clearly Philippe needs no introduction, but we can't let the opportunity pass without celebrating his achievements. Of course, these are many, and they are summarised in the short bio that was included with the companion paper in the proceedings. So instead of regurgitating from that, I opted instead to reach out to some of his colleagues and peers for some feedback, and that's what I'll share with you tonight. So Suzanne Lacasse highlighted Philippe's impactful work on standards and guidelines, while also noting that it was Philippe himself who created the McClelland Lecture without imagining that he would one day be one of the lecturers. These same points were raised by Knut Andersen and Ed Kluge, the third and fifth McClelland lecturers, with Knut also highlighting Philippe's ability to communicate the importance of geotechnical engineering to the wider industry, his skill at identifying areas in need of further research and development, and his success at getting priority and funding. Alan Young, the fourth McClelland lecturer, noted that in 2015, the United States Board of Geographic Names approved the naming of an underwater feature in the Gulf of Mexico, perhaps that should be Gulf of America these days, as the Jean Basin, to honour Philippe's contribution to advancing geological and geotechnical knowledge in the region. And it's really true recognition that a geotechnical engineer can be honoured in such a way. Jean-Louis Brad, who was Philippe's PhD supervisor, in response to my request, dug up some hand-scribbled notes on a draft dissertation, but provided them with a caveat that he wasn't sure if they would bring back good or bad memories for Philippe. And he recalled that when Philippe came to his office to say goodbye at the end of his PhD, he looked at the door after Philippe and left and thought, I'm not worried about this one. And following the theme of Philippe's early years, Don Murph, the first McClelland lecturer, recounted a story from '91 when he first started teaching a geomechanics graduate course at Texas A&M. It was something that Don was very enthusiastic to do and had spent many hours preparing. Jean-Louis himself had publicised the course widely, and on the first day, there was 15 students in attendance. Don's first homework set had 10 or so word problems that he expected would take a bit of thinking about. And the next week, when he showed up to teach, he discovered 10 of the students had dropped the course. Apparently, Don's enthusiasm was not widely appreciated, and he was told later that the problem set had taken many hours to complete and had intimidated most of the students. But to the point of this story, Philippe was one of the few students that had done the homework, and his solutions were flawless. So he turned out to be Don's star pupil and helped him recover somewhat from a first-day disaster. As for myself, my earliest working with Philippe was as a young geotechnical engineer recently arrived in Houston and given an opportunity to join the joint ISO API committee. I had absolutely no idea what it was all about, but Philippe took me under his wing, and that eventually led to various roles for me in that committee, but then also to the position I have today as chair of TC209, which brings me full circle to this evening. So to close, some people here will be aware that I have a small engagement these days that's away from offshore geotechnics, helping some traditional owners in the north of Australia with a renewable energy project. And that saw me in the French Riviera last week for an event. And at that I was lucky enough to attend a private event with the musician Sting. And while that was pretty cool, I'm happy to say that it's to see a true rock star of the offshore geotechnical community that I've come all the way to France for. So with that, Philippe, I'd like you to come and take the stage.